Welcome to the Getting Real with Hilary show. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Richard Huddo, and he wrote The Countess and the Nazis, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Let me tell you a little bit about Richard. Um, he served as White House appointment secretary to the Carter family, as well as chairman of the Georgia Council for the Arts. A former attorney, he is an internationally recognized lecturer, as well as the author of 6 critically acclaimed books. He has been featured as an on-air historical expert by Discovery Channel, National Geographic, Investigation Discovery, and Glenn Beck Television, and is a regular contributor to Royalty Digest Quarterly and the European Royal History Journal. So we are definitely in for a treat today. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes. So, okay, so you wrote this book. It's called The Countess and the Nazis: An American Family's Private War.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now I know you were saying that you wrote about other women with titled husbands.
Right.
How did you find Muriel to start writing about her?
First, I've always been drawn to women's stories. I grew up in a very Southern matriarchal society where the women ran everything, but the men weren't supposed to know that. Um, and so my early work about, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago, I really became fascinated with all of these rich American brides who married titled husbands. Some of them were love matches, but most were absolutely crass exchanges of a title for money. Anyway, but I had come across the
Wait,
name of,
can I ask you a question about
of
that?
course, of
Because it
course,
seemed like in some of the women who did that, these heiresses,
right.
that their money was turned over to their husbands.
That's absolutely true.
And
And in
now
fact,
it wasn't under their control anymore at all.
it was not. In fact, in this book, as you read, the same thing exactly happened to Muriel. They gave up their American citizenship when they married these titled husbands. But then when World War I and World War II happened, US Congress said, we're not going to allow these formerly American women whose husbands are fighting against us to have access to their American funds. They literally cut off their funds back in the US and they couldn't touch it. And that included everybody, including Vanderbilts and several others who were in the same category.
But the money was still there. They just couldn't access it.
That's true. But then after the war, they had to petition to get back their citizenship, and then they could petition to get back their funds. But it was not an automatic thing. I mean, they had to be very pro forma, if you will. They had to do what they were supposed to and go through all the required list of things to do in order to become American citizens again, and also to get access to those funds as well.
Wow. So
But you would
you
ask
had
me,
like gazillions.
right?
Here you were. I'm just trying to imagine.
Sure,
I've got all this money.
right.
I guess I want to be what do you call it? Like
A countess, a duchess, a
yeah, a
princess,
countess or a duchess. And
right?
I am willing, whether I love the guy or not, to give up my citizenship and my money.
Exactly. It's sad to relate, but that was absolutely the truth.
Well,
And when I first,
and it seemed like, sorry to interrupt, but
no, no,
that being married, like the whole thing was getting them married. The guys, the girls, that was the goal. That was the game.
exactly. And I used to refer to the mothers as pushy mamas because the way a lot of these started were women they had brand new money. Their husbands had made fortunes, but they were not invited to Mrs. Astor's ball. They were not invited to anything in New York City. And so what they did was they said, well, watch this. Once our daughter becomes a countess, you'll have to let me in. And that's exactly what happened with many of these families. I've never really understood why the fathers were complacent, why they said, okay, fine. Uh, when Consuelo Vanderbilt married the Duke of Marlborough, her dowry was about 20 million, and adjusted for today, that's about $200 million. that her father, Willie Kay, was willing to give up in order for her to become a duchess.